Definitely. It better happen before that. I don't think we're going to be in any shape in a decade to be doing very much of anything. So I'm not hopeful for the future direction that we're moving in it.
And the future direction, climate-wise, AI-wise?
Climate-wise and geopolitical-wise. That's the thing I think is going to kind of come. I think things are going to be pretty difficult starting in a few years. And from what I've been told by sources.
You hear of something big coming down the pike. Have you heard of these claims? And if so, do you have any idea what it may be?
Yes, I've heard of them. Yes, I'm aware of them. And I'm not able to have that conversation.
Got it.
It's not my conversation to have, but I am aware of it.
2027 was mentioned at one time. I've heard other dates in the 30s. I don't know. I've got no idea. I have no leads that make me feel strongly that this is true. I think it's speculative.
Reading a lot of stuff that says, full contact in 2027. And there's all these people that used to work for NASA or all these other organizations out there talking about how our history as a species is really simply a...
Some may feel in the government the mere fact of acknowledging this, if there is some sort of malintent, may push up artificially a clock that exists somewhere for these things to say, okay, the foolish humans are now, the cat's out of the bag, they know we're here, we need to go in now.
And so at a certain point, where do they have to do something to protect other places? Because there's a universal principle of self-defense. So far, we've just been cruising along, getting away with this foolish and childish behavior. But I can't give you a timeline on that. But I think that, I honestly, from what I've heard from very senior intelligence sources inside the so-called illegal operations, is that it's thought that it would not be able to go on beyond 2026.
Story that set the whole UAP community on fire about this disclosure that I think Jeremy Corbell was coming out and whistleblowing on, if I remember correctly, that they were saying that they're gonna they're gonna trick us by saying that there's a mothership arriving. And
that lie is going to be that there is a craft slowly making its way to us here on Earth. And that is the lie they're going to want you to believe. That is the lie you will be told. You're going to be told that there is a craft on its way to Earth. That's the lie.
Where it's like, how do you know he's saying that he's exposing it, but how do you know if he's exposed? It's just like...
Yes, there was an official effort by some people in the government to actually look at this data, and there were some products produced. That's a fact. I won't go into more detail than that. But it wasn't 2027.
Okay.
And
no, tell them what Bluebeam is.
The allegation was that there is an alien mothership that is about 2 years away from Earth, and it's going to make landfall on Earth in 2027. And that is the government's PSYOP plan.
I'm just concerned. That's all.
Yeah.
So I don't think 10 years in the future. I only think 3 or 4 years into the future.
Mm-hmm. It's too uncertain past that point?
I would say so.
On mission, I know that it actually occurred. They mentioned Holloman. They mentioned an agreement of some kind, and that there is a 50 to 70 year periodicity when that sort of a meeting takes place again. So we're in that time zone right now.
And is this the alleged countdown clock that we've been hearing about?
Yes, that's the one Ramirez and I and everybody else has talked about. We still don't know who originated it. But yeah, we all kind of tend to have fallen onto that time frame.
A lot of what we take for granted now in life, I don't think is going to be, we're not going to have it. A lot of things we have now that makes our lives as wonderful as they are.
Like electricity?
I don't know. Just the access to all the things we have access to now that are dependent on the globalization, basically, which just aren't sustainable.
This is from King Milkfart, and they say, how do you feel about a supposed impending event that is coming? Do you feel anxious, happy, excited? How do you feel?
Well, first of all, great question. Almost a trick question. Very, very clever. Very, very well worded. There's been a lot of talk about something happening. I am aware through certain channels of that same discussion. It may not necessarily be the exact dates that people are thinking right now. And quite frankly, we're not really quite sure what to think of it. Right now, there's a lot of innuendos and rumors going around. There is some discussion behind closed doors about maybe something occurring.
Exact alignment will happen in 2026 at Easter.
What will happen?
The star will, the alignment she told me about, that the star of Regulus would be on the horizon in front of the Sphinx. At that moment, there'd be a new knowledge. Well, I had no idea if this was even possible, but these astronomers run it through the machines, and it comes out that star is going to come up on the horizon in Easter of 2026. And from that point forward, they started remote viewing.
And I would say I've heard 2027 in a kind of an official capacity I can't reveal. So I think I would say that people in the government are aware of something happening and that there's limited time, a few more years to prepare the people, and that's what's ramping up this acceleration from the previous 7 decades of not even acknowledging it to now we are acknowledging it at a faster and faster pace.
The biggest takeaway for folks to understand is that things are happening on it's not a disclosure, it's a scheduled dissemination. And so certain things have to be set up before other things can be revealed.
Can you elaborate on the 2027 date and just let people know what you were told about that, or what's upcoming here for people?
2026 date. It's amazing to see everybody just claiming this every day now. 2026, 2027, that year. Something's going to happen. Well, let me tell you, in 2013, I was given that date by the lady about a future time that a new knowledge would come and the world would shift into a time of peace afterward, but not without trouble. And that's what she told me, and along with a lot more. But I put it all in writing to a couple of generals at the Pentagon.
Anyways, I think the word got out within the government that they're showing up in 2027, and we better be prepared. And if not, there's going to be a lot of explaining to do.
That the year 2027 has emerged in various social media venues. I was asked about my knowledge of that year. I, John Ramirez, acknowledged that 2027 seemed to loom large within the channeler and spiritual consciousness communities. I suggested that they research what Anjali and Chris Bledsoe have stated.
And Chris was telling me about the apocalyptic visions that he was having. And I already knew by that time that this was something that absolutely happened to people who were experiencers. But I also told him this. I said, Chris, people have been having these apocalyptic visions for over 2,000 years. And we're still here. I said, so it could possibly be that, this might happen. I mean, who am I to say that it's not going to happen?
I've been pushed back by CIA for 3 things. And one of them was 2027. One of them was 2027.